Welcome to Beyond the Glass. My name's Dean Serneels, and today's show is Beyond the Glass with Rob Husted. If you had a chance to watch our Behind the Glass episode with Rob, it was absolutely wonderful. He covered some really neat material. However, our audio was not working perfectly. So what I've asked Rob to do is we're going to recover some of that material today just to make sure you get it, because there's a lot of money-making material in the information that Rob wanted to deliver on Sunday. So we're going to do that again, and then we're going to have a cocktail. We're just going to chit-chat, make a few drinks, and have a few good laughs. He's a good friend of mine from over 27 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. This is...
Joining us is bartender Rob. We really mix up for this, right?
Ounce and a half of Hennessy V.
Ounce and a half.
Please welcome your next bartender, Mr. Rob Husted.
3, 2, 1, go!
Bringing back so many good memories.
Yeah, oh my. Rob and I met at one of the bartending competitions. I think it was probably Quest, right? Quest back in the very early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. And in that competition, there was this a flair round, of course, but the speed round was that was the one you had to beat. And it was the toughest speed round. There was 6 drinks, I think. And wow, it was so tough. What do you think?
Not only was it 6 drinks, it was 6 random drinks from a master list of like 25 drinks.
That's
so
right.
The real service bar ticket got printed up, boom, make the drinks and go.
Yeah, one of them was a blended drink. One of them was a straight up drink and an on the rocks drink. There was a simple build, a shaken drink. It was wow. I remember just going through those in my head, and it's funny. I was actually just talking to Bill Hinkevine about this. I do a lot of presentations for Zoom and whatnot now, and I'm setting up my bar for a Zoom call. I have to make 10 drinks in a Zoom call over an hour, right? And I'm going through my speed round in my head. I've got this glass, this bottle's here, this is the next bottle I'm going to touch is this bottle, the next bottle, and then I'll take a yellow rag and put it over the first set of cocktails, a green rag and put it over the next set of cocktails. Everything is set up and mise en place, right? Exactly where I need it to be, so I can just rock through it and not have to think about the steps that I need to take. So, cool.
Amazing. Those bartending competitions trained us to be not only better bartenders, but just better individuals overall.
Yeah, it is overflowed into so many areas of my life, just the organizational skills and whatnot. And then, of course, all of the dear friendships. Rob and I have been great friends since those days. We've been keeping up and bumping into each other on the streets of New Orleans during Tales of the Cocktail and wherever else. So our conversation just picks up where it ended every time we bump into each other. So, Rob, tell us about what you've been doing. Well, I guess during this year, but even prior to that. That was who was in the video? I saw Paula Dean and Alan Jackson, right?
Yeah, that was again a lucky break from Flair Bartending. The producers of this music video is 5 o'clock somewhere saw a special on, I think it was the Travel Channel from Quest, and they're like, wow, we want our bartenders to do that in music video. So they put together a short list of bartenders from the show that they saw. Luckily, I was on that list, and when they called, the biggest thing to do is answer your phone. Answer my phone. and they were telling me what was going on. And it was Bruce like, yeah, we want you to be part of this music video with Alan Jackson, Jimmy Buffett. I'm like, and I was actually on my way to another competition at the time, and I was, like you said, mentally preparing for it in my head, trying to remember speed around, trying to remember flair around. I'm like, I'll call you back. 10 minutes later, another talent group out of Miami called me for the same thing. I'm like, all right, I'll call you back. Then I'm like, you know what? Let me call my mom. I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, who's Alan Jackson? Oh my God! You're crazy not to do it, because I knew who he was. And I knew of Jimmy Buffett, but I didn't know who Alan Jackson was. So I called him back once I got to the competition, like, all right, let's set up a meeting. And set up the meeting. I told them what I needed. They 100% agreed to it, and I was the happiest thing that I've said yes to in a long time. No idea how big that song would be, and no idea how many times I would still hear it to this day at my bar, Tiki Ono, which I still get a kick out of. It's amazing.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really cool that you still get to hear it today and reminisce about that.
Yeah.
I love that you had to call your mom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't say this part, but her one stipulation was she wanted to be on set with my sister. So I'm like, I made sure I told them that. They're like, yeah, whatever you want. So if you freeze the frame in one split second of the video, you see my mom's hair in there, and she's just so happy that she's in there.
So she got to meet him and whatnot too?
She shook his hand, and she got to meet Alan Jackson. Jimmy Buffett,
Yeah.
They filmed his stuff the next day in Indiana at one of his concerts.
Right. Yeah, I saw that was a concert. I didn't figure he was on the beach with you guys, but hey, what a big thrill for your mom, huh?
Yeah, and then shortly after that, the Food Network called for the Paula Deen thing, and I said, now I knew better, but yes. Same thing, answer your phone, respond to those emails, said yes, and that was shot up in Savannah, Georgia, which was at that time where my mom lived, like only an hour away from where my mom lived. So of course she came for that, and I was on the show twice on that one, and she loved it. She was there every time. So your parents are always your biggest fans. It was great to see them be a part of it.
You know what? I still have every magazine article that I was ever in has been plaqued as a wall hanging because my mom is my biggest fan. Absolutely. I wouldn't be here if, well, obviously I wouldn't be here without my mom, but I don't think I would have had the successes that I've had without the support of my mom pushing me as well. So that's awesome.
That's all. I want to share one little story. The same with my dad. The best advice my dad ever gave me growing up, and this is just when I was starting to work in the industry, he's like, I don't care what you do for work, son. Whatever you do, enjoy it. Because if you enjoy it, you're the last day you ever work in your life. And I really took that to heart. And at the time, I started off in the hospitality business, back at the house cooking food, then moved up to a host and then a server, and eventually got thrown behind the bar. And I really enjoyed it. And then I got into flair bartending. And at this point, I was probably flair bartending or just bartending for probably a good 10 years or so. Right around there. I can't remember how long it was. And then he had a conversation with me, which kind of took me back. And he's like, this is great, no, but what are you going to do for the future? Do you really think you could sustain yourself? And I'm like, Dad, but I really enjoy this. And he's like, okay. And then literally a month later, that music video came out with Alan Jackson, Jimmy Buffett. And we sat and watched it together when it aired live for the first time. And then he sat me down and said, you know what, son, I'm really proud of you. And you are doing something with this. You're going with it. So go full into it. And that was the validation that I needed to hear from my dad. And then, again, he's just always been that huge supporter of me for that.
Right. So he was all fine. He was like, do whatever you want to do until it was a bartending gig forever, right? Yeah, get a real job, right?
How many times we've heard that?
Yeah. You know what? That's kind of part of kind of what I'm working at again as I'm trying to get out and spread my message through the social media. When I started teaching bartending, I guess I'd already taught it for a couple of years, but I loved bartending so much, and I knew that it was more than just a job, and I knew it was a real job. And one of the pledges I made to myself was to help other bartenders appreciate the job for what it is and enjoy it and explore all of the aspects of it. And I've kind of quietly in my mind dedicated my career to doing that and helping to spread the love of bartending to so many bartenders. So I think I've achieved much of that, but there's still many more years to go. So I'm quite enjoying that. Good.
I'm the same way. Like for me, when I first got into flair bartending again, and who I learned from was when you brought it up yesterday, Chuck Rome, those VHS videos. That was the first training video I learned, followed by Scott Young.
From Chuck's?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
he'll be
and
so happy. Oh, he's
Yeah.
going to be so thrilled. I don't mean to cut you off, but we were texting yesterday because they were on the show and they were popping in and out, and I gave Chuck a little plug, and he liked that. But when he hears that you got started because of his DVD or his videos, he's going to be thrilled. So carry on with your thought. I just wanted to throw that in, but
to go to your point and what you're saying, I remember how empowered I felt and how re-energized in my job again from wanting to learn more, watching those videos and going in the backyard and practicing and learning new tricks and more importantly, learning new tools, how to make more money behind the bar, and then applying them behind the bar and seeing my guest reactions and seeing all that energy, and then seeing that same energy go into sales and my tips. Where I want to give that back to the bartenders nowadays to share that same energy that I learned and just bring it full circle.
there it is. Yeah, 100%. When I get somebody on the bar that tastes something for the very first time and their eyes light up and they're like, wow, they've never experienced something like that. Those are the moments that I prepare for and that I work so hard just to see the light in some stranger's eyes come on and they appreciate a cocktail or having somebody come back and remember my name or me being able to remember their name when they come back in. But people come back to bars to see bartenders. At the bottom of the line, at the end of the day, people come back to bars to see the bartenders, not just to see the TVs or whatnot in a bar. So that's what we got to pledge ourselves towards. Now, Rob, we talked on Behind the Glass. We talked about the famous taste access grid, and your microphone was a little echoey, and I mean you could hear it, but it wasn't perfect. And I think the taste access grid is such an important piece of my success. I know you feel it was yours as well. I would like for you to recover some of the knowledge you gave us with the taste access grid. Sound cool?
Yeah, the taste access grid is something that I actually learned from Dean Serneels himself many years back at an event we called Mixology Matters. It was this great mixology cocktail convention in the middle of a big flair bartending competition. There were seminars during the days, there was parties at night, there was flair qualifying over here, there was mixology competitions over here, a spirited dinner over here, and it all accumulated to this big flair finale where everyone was under the same roof just having a blast. And it was
the Mixology Matters thing, I know I'm probably going to interrupt you along the way. It's probably going to take us half an hour to actually get to the Taste Access Grid. But the Mixology Matters, just to put the kudos back to you, what you were doing there was so cutting edge. And the cyclical nature of our industry, you could do those exact same events. Oh, my microphone my earpiece just fell out. You could do those exact same events today, and the music came on because I touched the darn thing. So those Mixology Matter events, they could be run again today because of the secular nature of the industry. You could run them again exactly how you did then.
Yeah, it was. You're right. At the time, it was cutting edge, and I'll give one of my mentors this, Rick Barcode. At the time, he always said to stand out, do something different. No one else was doing it at the time. And what caught my eye was when we had during Legends in Las Vegas, when it was at the Rio all those years. When I first went down after the comp to iBar and had a cucumber mojito, my mind was blown. I'm like, this is amazing. And that's when I started giving a damn about cocktails. And then I saw my tips go up. I'm like, well, let's bring this to everyone else. And how do we do that? You can tell them, you can educate them. But now if you put it in a comp and you put in the rules, you got to force them to do it. And it's kind of like bringing it all together.
Right, we started putting muddling into a flair bartending competition, and the bartenders were so mad. Like, what are you doing? We're doing flair. And I said, well, you better learn how to make a drink because that's going to be what's taking your job. And sure enough, mixology took over, and flair bartending fell out of fashion for a number of different reasons. But it's coming back now with the Instagrams and the YouTubes and all that. We've got these great guys that are just doing flair. And this whole new generation, and post-COVID, we've lost so many fabulous bartenders. We're going to be bringing in a whole new workforce of bartenders after COVID, and they're going to be inspired by the Zach Prohaskas and the Vladimirs, slick bartenders, plus all the mixologists out there, and they're going to be hitting the streets, loving and knowing both, and not ever having known that they were separated at one point, and it's just all part of the craft of bartending. So the Mixology Matters made such an impact way back then, and is still today. So thank you very much for all the work you did on those.
Thank you to the staff. I mean, Amanda Ashcraft, Josh Gates, Kara Ashcraft, JD Spraglin, you, Mike McLean,
Right.
like you, Jordan Medic. You guys helped put all that together. Like, it was great to have a vision and say we're going to do this. And I remember you saying this, and like, Rob, I don't know if I believe in this. You're gonna do the game flair, and you're gonna dress me in a referee uniform. I'm like, just do it. Like, you pushed us off this cliff, and it worked because everyone came together and just believed in it.
You know, I have that referee shirt right upstairs. I know exactly where it is. I want to run up and grab it now that you mentioned it. I totally forgot. Oh yeah, I was blowing a whistle. We were playing horse with the word flair, and yeah, we were just experimenting and playing with all kinds of stuff. We were going to pack the house. We were playing with the flair bartenders and just seeing what we could do with them, and then sneaking in drink making competitions at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, just so many great memories. Anyway, let's get back to this taste access grid. I keep promising.
Something I learned from Dean Serneels at Mixology Matters, and for me, I've worked high volume bars for majority of my life. I started off in corporate and then got into high volume bars, nightclubs, venues. But I was always a big component of making quality cocktails while doing it. But in a high volume bar, you want to kind of turn and burn it, and the quicker you are, the more money you bring, the more money is in your pocket. But you also want to give your guests that tailored experience when they say dealer's choice. So this is a way how I deal with dealer's choice, and this is something.
So dealer's choice, just to explain, dealer's choice is when somebody walks up to the bar and says, "I don't know what I want, bartender, make me a drink," right?
Exactly. And this is something we teach our bartenders at Tikiono how to handle. And not only how to handle, we actually put it on our menu where it's bartender's choice, and it says, have a conversation with our bartender to make a tailored cocktail for your needs.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it costs nothing. You put it on the board, and it encourages your guests to interact with the bartenders, and it empowers your bartenders to be confident in their skills and refine their skills every day coming up with new cocktails.
Right.
So
Just to encourage that conversation. Yeah, sorry, keep going. I'm blown away by that. I think it's fabulous.
So this way this works is in two questions. In the first part, before I talk about the first question, I want you to think of 4 boxes or 4 quadrants. I think Dean has a graphic for this. And it's going to be called
there it is.
Taste Grid. So in one box, you have sweet, sour, strong, and weak. So when the guest first walks up and says, dealer's choice, make me a cocktail, my first question always is, do you want something sweet, sour, strong, or weak? And they'll usually say 2 of the things. Give me something weak and sour. Give me something strong and sweet. Cool. So now what I'm doing is, now I have a profile of a kind of cocktail that you want. I can put that pin on the map right there like this. Something strong and sweet, like Planter's Punch or a Long Island iced tea, or something.
The one in the graph there is the long or the Black Russian is the one that's on that graph. You can't see it from your angle, but it's the Black Russian in the top left-hand corner of strong and sweet.
And then something weak and sour would be like an amaretto sour. So now you have a profile or a flavor of what what your guest wants. Instead of asking them, well, what do you normally drink? Well, I drink a margarita, and you rehash them just a different margarita. Well, I normally drink whiskey, and you just rehash a different whiskey cocktail. You're not really giving them something fun and something new and innovative. You're just giving them the same stuff rehashed. So now that you ask that question, sweet, sour, strong, or weak, you have a profile for them. And the second question I follow up with is there any flavors you don't like? And they're like, oh, yeah, well, I don't like coconut or this or that. So now you have a direction of where to go. Dean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was just kind of reviewing all that in my head. I used to teach this, Philip Duff taught me this, and then I was sharing it everywhere I went. I used to ask the 2 questions were, do you want something strong or weak? Which gave me that strong or weak axis, I guess. And then sweet or sour was my second question. I love your addition of the third question to find out if there's something that just puts you off. So explain to me, you had a great explanation for it the other day of why you asked that third question.
And that came out of necessity because I would only always ask the first question for years. And then some majority of the time they'll love the cocktail, but there'll be a couple times just as many as well. Where I was like, you know what? I love this. I just don't really like coconut. And you made me this awesome drink and took all this time to put thought into, or, you know what? I'm allergic to strawberries. So I can't have this. I'm like, oh,
Right.
damn. You know what? Maybe I should ask them if there's anything they don't like. And I specifically ask them any flavor you don't like. I don't ask them if there's any spirits they don't like because, you know, if I don't like gin, they'll say I don't like gin. Well, great, but I can still make an amazing gin cocktail and you have no idea gin's in there. Like, oh,
Right.
That's great. There's gin in here. So don't ask them if they don't like any spirits. Ask them if there's any flavors they don't like.
Yeah, that's great. And I've worked it into menus actually, where I had a page in the menu that was the strong and weak page and then the sweet and sour page so that the servers didn't have to memorize how it all worked. They only had to memorize what page was the sweet and sour page or the strong and weak page. It's a great way to break the ice. It's a great way for conversations to happen on the bar. It's so essential to breaking the ice and getting the conversation going and creating a brand new cocktail that maybe has never been made before. Certainly something that the guest has never had, which allows the guest to have a true unique experience at your bar and connect you to the bartender, which brings us right back around to people come into bars to see bartenders, right?
Yep. And if they want to have that drink again, they got to come to you.
Exactly. Yeah, I used to have that all the time. People would come in and be like, hey, I want the drink that guy made me. Can you make it? And he goes, nah, you got to wait for that guy. So I'd have bartenders talking to a guest, and then they'd have to stand back and wait for me to get to the guest. That proved to me that I was doing something that was resonating. If nothing else, it was resonating. And the other bartenders are like, I don't get it. So then they started paying attention, and well, now we're here. So, yeah, that's the Taste Access Grid. It's a flat out moneymaker, and it should be essential in the base of anybody's beverage program, I think. So, Rob, take us on to you wanted to make some cocktails, Beyond the Glass with Rob Husted.
What are we doing? We're here. We're celebrating the repeal of Prohibition. It was December 5th, 1933. I mean, yeah, that was a day or two ago. I don't even know what day it is right now.
It was Saturday. It was past Saturday. Today's Wednesday, if I posted it correctly.
But one of my first cocktails that I had to celebrate the repeal of Prohibition, it was in a nightclub, and it was the Sidecar. And I grabbed the first cognac that I had next to me was Hennessy and triple sec, and at that time we didn't have fresh lemon juice behind the bar, so I used sour mix out of the gun, sugar in the glass, shook it. I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing! This is such a great cocktail. And I sold a lot of them that night because of it. But then recently, right before a couple days ago, for the repeal of Prohibition, normally we're in Tampa for the Tampa Repeal Day party. The USPG Tampa puts on an amazing party for the last 10 years or so. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they're not doing it this year. So it was actually free. So at home, I'm like, well, I'm going to make a sidecar. For some reason, I associate sidecar with the real Prohibition. Made a sidecar, using the same recipe. I used cognac. I used triple sec, but this time I used what the recipe called for, is fresh lemon juice with the sugar rim. And I took a sip of that. I'm like, Jesus, it was really unbalanced. And I'm like,
that's straight lemon juice.
Right. My taste buds are off. So I tried making it again. Came out with the same thing, and then I had a friend over, someone's in the business, Josh Shaw, came by the other day to drop off some more cognac so I can make the cocktail. And
God bless him. God bless him.
And we made my recipe and his recipe, and the same thing, where they're pretty similar. He's like, oh my God, that's awful. It's like, it's so unbalanced. I'm like, I agree.
Right.
So then I sent out a message on social media and like different chat, bartender forums, cocktail forums, like, real question, what's your sidecar recipe? And it was surprising. 80% of them all added either demerara sugar or some kind of sweetener or sugar in the component to balance out the cocktail.
Gotcha.
Because think about it, back then there was a different palate. It was just cover up the booze. Where now America has more refined palate, but more importantly, we have a sweeter palate. Like you get a drink here, it's going to be a little bit more sweeter. Like you go to McDonald's or something, you're going to get a drink sweeter. Where if you go overseas, you know, they don't appreciate the sugar as much. Where we kind of crave it. And I think you got some thoughts on that.
Yeah. When I noticed that when I moved to the United States 10 years ago, the Coca-Cola at McDonald's in Canada is not as sweet as the Coca-Cola here in the United States. It's actually much more refreshing. There's more bubbles in it, and it's easier to drink. Whereas the Coca-Cola in the States is, you know, you can, when you finish sipping it, you've really got that syrupy flavor in your mouth. Whereas it's refreshing otherwise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the palates are different from country to country, for sure.
And I think you brought up a good point about the quality of spirits back then towards now. Do you want to elaborate more on that?
Yeah, we talked about that. And when cocktails were first invented, or not when cocktails were first invented, because that goes back into the 1800s, but during Prohibition, when people were making these gins and making these spirits by getting a bottle or a case of real whiskey and cutting it down to a little bit of real whiskey and a bunch of other stuff. Bartenders would have to get creative using juices and bitters and other sugars and whatnot to cover up the flavors of those spirits. Nowadays, we move all the way upward. We jump forward 100 years, and the distillers and manufacturers of these spirits have created some very beautiful spirits and very subtle flavors and very subtle hints. So now, I actually made a drink just the other day with gin, a little bit of simple syrup, and a dash of bitters, and that's it. And then I stirred it a lot and strained it out. So I got the dilution I needed. The simple syrup just softly took away some of that bite of the alcohol, and the flavors of the gin just start to blossom out of the center of it. Whereas back in the 1920s, if we were to do that, the flavors of the gin, you'd be able to taste, you know, horrible alcohol, gasoline, kerosene, whatever else. So,
cool. So I want to further validate of what we're talking about. I kind of want to do a little comparison. If we kind of want to make two sidecars, we're going to do sidecar number one. So let's grab a tin with some ice. And for this one, we're going to use 2 ounces of cognac.
All right. I'm going to start off with a glass filled with ice, if that's okay by you.
Yeah. Looks better on the camera that way.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I build all my drinks in a glass, so you can see it being built. So, all right, how much triple?
1 ounce of triple sec, and then 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. So it's basically 2-1-1. And then in the world of the sidecar, there's 2 camps. There's the French, which is equal parts of cognac, triple sec or Cointreau, and lemon juice. And then there's
that would be 2 and 2, or 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. Okay.
I think it was like 1. I forgot what it is exactly, but it was the same parts. And
okay, equal parts of the 3.
Is 2 ounces, 1 ounce, 1 ounce. So let's shake
2,
that
1,
up
1. All right. Hey, Rob, has your elbow started to hurt yet?
No, thank God, but I've had a lot of practice doing that. I'm gonna leave that joke alone.
I think we have a shaker elbow that we're calling it, from all the shaking. Yeah. All right. So we'll just strain that out. There's my strainer.
And then, Dean, what are your thoughts on when you rim a glass, whether it's a full rim, half rim, what do you normally do?
Well, I normally rim the glass before I put the drink in it. So let me do that. Here's my theory on rimming. Because so many bartenders will just jam it in the lime and mash it all around and then jam it in the sugar. So I like to take the outside of the glass and roll it on some citrus and then just touch it to the sugar so that the sugar or the salt only goes on the outside of half of the glass. This gives me the choice as a guest to drink it with or without and to taste it with or without, experience it different ways. But also, especially with the margarita, it keeps the salt from going into the margarita and making the margarita taste like the ocean. You know what I'm saying? It just tastes like salt water and ruins it. So That's why I always rim just the outside of half the glass. All right.
300%. Half the glass. Give your guess the option.
I'm gonna pour back in
First
there
one.
so I can
Take a
do it
sip and
just
see what you
right.
think.
Cheers to you. Cheers.
Ah,
The other side.
Cheers.
There it is. Oh yeah. It's good. I can taste all the flavors. I can see where you're saying that the lemon is a little bit too lemony.
Yeah, I get mainly that than anything else. With the back end of the Coke.
Do you think it would be different if we were using Cointreau?
Slightly, because I'm using the Kuiper triple sec, and it's just as sweet, if not pretty damn close to Cointreau. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I've always thought Cointreau was a little bit more, but or maybe it's just the heavier alcohol in the Cointreau brings up the flavors of it or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, if I got served this, I'd be getting what I asked for, right?
Yeah, but
and you can what was the next recipe that Josh brought forward for you?
Oh, that was we did the French versus the English, so it was the same drink, just different proportions. So this time we're going to make this a little differently, and this is what I came up with: is we can do better now, right? Since I saw those messages on the message boards and social media, like everyone else adding simple to it or some kind of sugar, like that's okay. So on this one, we're going to add a little simple to it, but as well, we're going to add something because it's citrus. We're going to add Aquafaba, and Aquafaba is going to give it that nice thick creamy head. You want to talk about what Aquafaba is, Dean?
Yeah, I put the can away. No, I don't. I've got it right over here, actually. Aquafaba. You know, when it first started coming out, I'm like, what the heck is this Aquafaba stuff? And I couldn't track it down. It was hard to find. It's the juice from garbanzo beans. That's it. I just opened up this can and poured it into here. Sure, you could filter it and make it look a little cleaner, but the Aquafaba is really just bean juice or the water from the garbanzo beans. That creates a froth. Well, Rob's going to get to that in just a few minutes. But it's a vegan version of egg whites, right, Rob?
Yeah, our current vice president for the USPG Palm Beach is a vegan, and he loves using Aquafaba. He's the one that first showed me that because of what it does. But more importantly, like anytime, I love a good egg white cocktail. I love the foam on it. But every time
so do I. I love using egg white. Yeah.
Every time I take that sip, the first thing I always smell is rotten eggs. Maybe it's in my head, not so used to smelling it now. I always get that, especially for cocktail comps. I'm like, well, this isn't good if it's judged on aroma. So then I started using Aquafaba. You get that same thick, creamy head, but you don't get that smell at all. So it's a great alternative for that reason alone. Great.
And you haven't found any aromas coming off of the Aquafaba?
When it's mixed in with a cocktail, it disappears into it.
This one I can't smell anything on. I haven't had them in the past where I could smell something off the top of it, but this one's
like
nothing.
A little saltiness or something. But for the most part, when it's in a cocktail, it disappears. For me.
Yeah, and that's the goal, right? All right.
So the second cocktail, we're going to build in a tin or a glass with no ice.
Okay.
And we're going to use same amount of cognac, 2 ounces. But you know what, Dean? I can't come on this show and not flip any bottles, right?
Oh!
Yeah, let's have a little bit of fun.
I guess we should. I mean, come on.
Let's do this. You ready?
I'm with the iconic Rob.
Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, yeah, I should have, right?
It's Dean Serneels.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Just a recreation of the same move. Here's some different pours for you. Whoa. If it wasn't for my big fat belly, I would have dropped that on the floor.
So 2 ounces
Very good.
of cognac.
All right, let's see how I did on my pour. Hey, Rob, you got to stop the presses right there. Huh?
Nice.
That was 3 separate pours out of Flair. That was 3 separate Flair pours into that shaker tin. Yeah, it can be done, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, back to 1 ounce of triple.
Half ounce of triple. We're going to cut the triple back.
All right.
And then half ounce of fresh lemon juice.
How about finest call single press lemon juice? Is that okay?
That'll work.
All right.
If they're going to save me the time of squeezing the lemon, then I will enjoy that.
Hey, you know what? I've been using this same single press lemon juice for probably 3 weeks now. I poured it out, and that's the best part of the finest call single press lemon juice. It's freshly or single pressing, but it has a great shelf life of actually 2 months non-refrigerated after opening. So, woohoo! That's a plug.
We use the same stuff at Tiki Ono. We use a single press lime and the single press lemon, as well as the premium sweet and sour.
Good. My bonus is in. Ha ha!
All right, and then so we got 2 ounces of cognac, half-ounce triple sec, half-ounce fresh lemon juice, half-ounce simple, and we use again half-ounce of Aquafaba.
All right, I got to catch up with my half-ounce of simple. I was bragging about my pour testing. All right, and half an ounce of Aquafaba.
So now you got.
Where does the word Aquafaba come from?
What's that?
Where does the word Aquafaba come from?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's Spanish.
I don't know. Agua means water, I guess. Maybe faba means bean.
Like fava beans. Bean water.
I don't know. I think this is just us ruining a language here. Chickpeas, they're garbanzo beans. I don't know. Before some literary person comes at us and just starts laughing at us for being remarkably stupid.
If you know the answer, put it in the comments below.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so we're going to shake that all up without ice, so this would be a dry shake.
Shoot. All right, I poured it ahead of time. I got ahead of myself, all excited and stuff. Let me pour that back. I just chilled it. It's a new technique. Don't worry about it.
Use triple shake.
I'm going to drop my spring in, too. Can I do that?
Yeah, that's actually, you want to tell them why you're doing that, while you're shaking?
Yeah, this spring comes from a protein shake. If you're trying to lose weight and you're drinking protein shakes instead of Raisin Bran in the morning, these things, drop them in there, and that is going to help aerate and bring all the flavors together, but also make a nicer froth in there. Okay? Ready? Bill Hinkebine's at home, clapping right now. We're giving a good hearty shake. We really want to break up and emulsify all those ingredients in there. We want to get a lot of air in there as well. Woo!
And now we're going to add some ice and do it all over again.
You got it.
And by adding the ice, it's going to give it dilution as well as bring down the temperature.
Right. And we'll know it's cold enough when our shaker tin is too cold to hold. Oh, yeah. Woo, she's getting cold.
And then bring that into our half sugar rim coupe glass.
There it is. A little bit of sugar, drag it in some sugar.
And then for this, I'm going to garnish this with just a nice little slice of lemon.
Got a little carried away there. Look at that. Perfect fit. Do you remember the question in trivia of how the coupe glass was designed?
The rumor, yes, and I love that rumor.
Yes. Yes. All right, there's just a sweet lemon right on the side there. Or actually a sour lemon that looks sweet on the side. Look at that. See, Rob, just looking at these, even before we drink it, the froth on top of there is so much more visually appealing. It makes me want to taste it. I know each one of those tiny little bubbles, when it pops, gives off a tiny bit of aroma as well. Especially as I get this glass closer to my nose, I'm going to be able to start smelling the flavors and the citrus notes, whatever, coming out of that. So it's just a completely different presentation.
Agreed.
Mmm.
And to me, I don't want to sway you, but see what your thoughts are.
I really like that extra. It's not incredibly more sweet because you cut that triple sec pour in half. But the sweetness is more full. There's more mouthfeel to it, and it's a more balanced sweetness. The lemon is not coming out and punching me in the face like it was over here. The lemon here was like, hey, I'm in here. You can't deny that I've got lemon juice in here. Whereas the lemon in here is like a sweet lemonade.
Yeah, to me, it's an updated version for America's palate today, and I'm really been digging that this weekend now, drinking this.
It's beautiful, just beautiful.
And if I'm not mistaken, you have a little a heart stencil you do some stuff with these foams you can talk about.
Yeah, I sure do. I had a little piece of ice in there I was chewing on. Let's see if I can't get that ready for you here. All right. Got that. Where did I put my little heart? Where did I put my heart, Rob?
If you haven't seen some of Dean's cocktails, I'm sure you can check them out on Instagram or his pages. Some of the artwork he does on the foam, just with stencils in different colors, is almost like a masterpiece of its own, just looking at it.
Stop.
So definitely fights you when you drink
Stop. All right. Let me just thin this out. We're never going to be able to see it on this camera angle. Maybe I'll bring it up to the edge here, but you guys will get the idea. You get the vision here. Peychaud's bitters. So I'm just reaching over here to my little shelf of supplies here. Just some Peychaud's bitters here in a little dish, a little soy sauce dish. And there's actually a video on my YouTube that covers this in a little bit more detail. And I also do a stencil on there as well. In fact, on one of the One Drink With episodes with Alex Kazam, a magician bartender out of Ontario, he took the concept and actually went a little further and had the prediction of a card from a deck of cards sprayed into the top of his drink. It was beautiful. So anyway, here is a miniature cookie cutter. Just got them online. Yeah, it's just a tiny little box. There was 6 or 8 little cookie cutters in it, but it has this little tiny heart. All right, I don't know how the best place to show it is. All right, and I dropped the heart on the thin layer of Peychaud's in my little dish, and then I just dipped that on top of my foam. So now I'm gonna walk around and I'm gonna see if I can't show you this. This one is absolutely perfect. I'll bring it around to the camera here. Let's see if you guys can see that. All right, I'm gonna tilt the camera a little bit.
Oh, that looks gorgeous.
Look at that, it's so sharp. You know, and then I actually take a pin of a knife and put it in there as well. And I can make the arrow going through the heart and just start drawing on top of the drink. It's so much fun. And that's another element there. When you do that right in front of a guest, and they're watching that, and then like I said, I get the tip of a knife, and I just get a little drop and drag it. You can imagine how it looks. And I put a little tiny arrow through the heart. But I don't let them touch the drink yet. You know, you reserve that quarter of the bar over here. You know, when the guest touches this side of the bar, you get to smack their hands, you know. I hit them with a, hey, get out, that's my side of the bar, bugger off. But when you present it to them, they get to watch you draw on top of their drink and then present it. And it just becomes a piece of artwork, this edible artwork. And it's beautiful because 2 sips from now, it'll be gone.
It'll be always engraved in their memory.
Always, and they'll come back, and that guy will bring his next girlfriend back to see that.
I got to quote this again. Just kind of bring everything back to what we talked about.
Yeah,
today.
this is a really cool quote. I had to ask you to say it twice yesterday because I wasn't paying attention the first time. What book are you holding first off?
The Bon Voyants, How to Mix Drinks. Dean always has this in the background, and he shows somewhere. And him and I, I've always got a kick on this. Never told him I had the same book. We have the same one from 1928. That's how old this one is. This thing's barely holding up.
Here, let me bring out mine from 1862.
Nice.
I won up to you! Yay! Your favorite bartender one upping you. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
From Jerry's Professor
Back to
Comics,
you.
but there's
Rob, I'm gonna give you the solo screen so you can be the preacher man.
When I bought this book, I bought it online, probably 2004 when I was getting mixology. Had no idea it was signed, and I'm still trying to figure out who it's signed from. But here's what it says: "May you find the makings for every joy herein set forth." And it's signed by Parsons and Parsonette, December of 1928. But I'm gonna say that again: "May you find the makings of every joy herein set forth." And just a book of recipes and cocktails to be able to share and bring joy to others. And I thought that's great because that's what we do behind the bar, whether it be through cocktails or whether it be through conversations or bad jokes or just good times. We pass it on to you.
Find the right button. I love that quote. I need you to write it down for me. The hereon and set forth and all that stuff. You have to text it over to me. Parsons, are parsons, is that another term for a minister or a priest of some sort? Like Parson Brown?
I have no idea. I've been trying to Google it to find out who this person was that signed it, and I couldn't come up with anything on the internet, so I don't know.
Like, I wonder if the parson was like the leader of the church that handed that book down.
That'd be kind of interesting, and I want to be I want to go to that church.
Embarrassingly, I think I get the word Parson Brown from Frosty the Snowman.
What's the correlation? I don't know that one.
Because one of the characters, when they talk about, I can't remember, it's not close enough to Christmas for me to remember the words to it, but I believe Parson Brown is mentioned in the Frosty the Snowman. So anyway, I digress. I'm just making stuff up at this point. Of course, that's stuff I made up when I was 4 and just assumed that was the truth all the way along. Wow, what a great book. Have you read that book?
When I first got it, I glanced through it, and then every once in a while I need inspiration. I'll glance through that or other books. But it's just great seeing where things started from and to where they get evolved to it now today. They're called classics for a reason, Dean, because they're classic in the way they're made. The ratios are there, and there's always room for improvement, don't get me wrong, but it's great to have a great foundation.
Right, and it may not even be improvements. It's just making it slightly different, changing it to taste. But yeah, like you said, they're classics for a reason because that's the basis of these recipes, and so many of them are exactly the same, or just subtle, slight changes. I made my drink for Behind the Glass. When I do Behind the Glass, I promise to always have an original cocktail. But sometimes it's just taking this cocktail and adding some passion fruit juice to it. It could be a 1/4 ounce difference or a bar spoon difference from this, and I can call it my own recipe because I've changed it just a little bit and added one ingredient. So, what a great experiment. I hope to one day get to, as we start getting closer to the vision that I have for Behind the Glass, and I don't know why it's taking me so darn long to get to the vision, but I want to compare all the different ways of shaking egg whites and no egg whites and Aquafaba here into cocktails with the dry shake, the not dry shake, and all these different combinations to figure out the myth behind it and to figure out the exact best case scenarios for using those. Thanks for bringing these in, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for bringing me on and us just getting together and talking, and instead of these drunk conversations, or not even drunk conversations, these great conversations you and I have, now we get to share that with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I was laughing. My son was over this afternoon or this evening as I was getting ready to come down and hang with you, and I'm putting a tie on. It's it's Monday night. I'm putting a tie on, and he's like, what are you doing? I mean, it's COVID. There's a pandemic. It's not like there's parties going on a Monday night somewhere. I said, I'm going into the basement to be drinking on video with one of my buddies. It makes sense here, but like you take it into the real context of the world, and yeah, we're getting dressed up so we can make drinks in the basement.
Yeah, you brought up something really great the other day. And you're asking, well, what's the future for you, and where how are you gonna?
Yeah, that was my next question, Rob.
Yeah, good segue.
It's perfect.
And the answer for that for me is what I basically found is I've always been a huge fan of education, the same as you. And through flairbar.com, which evolved to bartendbetternow.com, I've always been a fan of doing it online digitally where you keep your costs down, but you have your reach to a maximum.
Yeah.
And I love that online education. And through the pandemic, it kind of forced everyone to go to that platform through Zoom. Zoom's been amazing through what you're doing and podcasts and everyone else. That information's out there. Where now I think the next trend is all this online education. If you're not doing it, you need to be doing it because it's only going to take next year. It doesn't really cost that much to get into it initially. If you have questions, I'm sure you can reach out to Dean or Vladimir.
Yeah. I got started thanks to Vladimir. If Vladimir hadn't been pushing me, he was like, Dean, come on, you gotta do this. You gotta do this. And that's why I started Mad Mixologist at the beginning of 2020. I really, really love what I did with Mad Mixologist, and I wish I could have kept it going, but it was so labor intensive for all the editing and all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed every minute of it.
And thanks to Vlad for getting you to do it, because now you're not only you doing it, but coming up soon, you have an interview with the bar stars, Tom, Allie, and Jackie, and then you got a whole bunch of other stuff planned if you want to tease.
Tom and Jackie Alley have a great podcast. It's called Bar Stars Podcast, and they're out of Vegas. And it started just as a, hey, let's promote Vegas because of the pandemic, right? And it's grown to now including all kinds of bartenders from around the world. And they do a really fabulous job. It's a really professional job. And the end of December, so I have 2 more episodes of Behind the Glass and One Drink With, or Beyond the Cocktail, with Rob Husted. I've got Casey Wallen next week, and then Shay Court is joining me the week after that. And then Tom and Jackie Alley will be my guest on the Sunday, and I will be their guest on the following Wednesday on their podcast. So we're going to jockey back and forth for the week, and that day with Tom and Jackie Alley, I am going to announce my incredible lineup for January. I've been using a lot of good friends, some of them famous, like Rob Husted, as we build and figure out how to do this online show. And in January, we launch the online show. We've got a few new segments that we're planning, a couple of different changes and a couple of different things. But the show will include Behind the Glass at 9 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, we go to DNA Bar Trivia, where myself and Allison do our bar trivia. Rob's a member of that. He comes there every night. And we have a lot of fun just doing bartender trivia. It's very low key, and we have a drink, and we laugh, and I make mistakes, and people laugh at me. So, and then Wednesday we do Beyond the Glass with Rob Husted or whoever the guest was the following Wednesday. So, great lineup. I've got some real A players for January. Not that December or November weren't A players, because they're all amazing bartenders and dear friends. But I'm reaching a little deeper into the box for January, and I'm working on February as well. So excited. We've done it. Allison and I have put together the vision, and we've got a little show. So that's my ramble. Thanks for asking, Rob.
That's what friends are for, buddy.
You know, when I work a pro like you, I don't know if I'm being interviewed or if I'm interviewing you. So it's
the sign of a good guest. We just talk.
So what's your plan going into 2021?
It's funny you ask. I've been meaning to do a lot of online education, and you actually gave me some great advice a long time ago, and I don't even remember this, but. When I felt like I was overstretched and doing a lot of different things and a lot of rods in the iron, you said, you know what? Wouldn't it be great if you took all that effort you put in all these different things and put it into one thing and do that really well? And that always resonated with me. So since then, I've learned a very valuable and important word in business, and that was the word no. And telling people no. And it's okay to tell people no.
Hallelujah.
to benefit other things and concentrate on things that will help build you on what you're already building already quicker than just all over the place. So I've learned the word no, and not only for business, but for that mental health and having a day off and making sure not to schedule stuff on Tuesdays, you know, and coming home Sunday and doing DNA trivia and just enjoying that. It's you know, having that you time. So to answer your question, I'm cutting back on a lot of this broadness and focusing on a couple things, and I'll give you a hint. One being definitely online education through seminars like this, as well as revamping Bartend Better Now and a bunch of training modules. And just, it's been a long time coming, and there's just from this conversation alone, we have so much information to give with all of our friends, and you know, we're not looking to make a dime out of it. We're just looking to share that information out there with the masses. But you know what, to be able to do that, sometimes you need to be able to take time away from work, and there's nothing wrong with making money or being recouped that money that you're losing to be able to have that time to share. So that's where I'm kind of looking at it, and that's the future for me.
Rob, and I can't wait to see your education coming out. All the technology is here. All we need to hear is your words. Use the 27 years of experience you have, and just put it into a little book for us and read it. I'll tune into every episode from it. So I look forward, and any way I can help, Rob, let me know. And we've got a huge community of bartenders out there rooting for you. They want you to spread some joy. All right, people are cheering you on, Rob. Let's go for it.
Thanks, Dean. I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah. Cool. There's an episode. My drink's done. This is one drink with, and I don't even want to drink this one anymore. Rob, you got me hooked on this one.
Perfect.
All right. One drink with Rob Husted, or Beyond the Glass with Rob Husted. Rob, you shared some really, really enlightening money-making tips with us today, and I hope to see a whole lot more of you in 2020 online and in social media here. So thank you very much for spending some time with me and being patient as we are continuing to tighten up the reins here on the shows of Behind the Glass and Beyond the Glass. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Dean. See you next week.
All right, we'll see you. We'll see you next week. You'll be there for trivia. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Husted.